Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday, Lester. Good morning to you. How you doing?
Good morning, boss. Yeah, good. Thanks.
How's it going?
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you had a good week?
Very good. Yeah, we've had a busy week, haven't we? Really?
We have had a busy week.
We've been vlogging.
We've been vlogging this week. We've had a vlog come out on the channel.
Yeah.
So Whittam Bay, and I've got to say, I know people said that you looked a bit like Peter Allis, certainly a younger version of Peter Allis. But now you commentate
Apparently.
like him, if not better than Peter Allis.
No, don't be silly. He's a legend.
He is a
legend of the game. So I enjoyed it. It was good. Like, it was different. I've not done much camera work before. I've not done any talking as such. Well, while other people been playing, I really enjoyed it. It was a good day
you're
out.
a bit of a natural, to be
I
honest.
liked it. It was good. It was good. It was less pressure, a bit of fun. Maybe my banter was a little bit brutal at times. Maybe.
Well, luckily we were able to edit out a little bit of what's been said. But yeah, it was. But what a golf course, Whittam Bay. I mean, the thing with it, what I loved about that video was that, you know, if you think about all the golf courses that, you know, think about the golf courses. If I said to you, right, Lester, let's go and play a golf course.
Yeah.
We're going to choose some of the special courses, aren't they? And when I've done my videos with Mark over the last 3 years, you know, Your Golf Travel sent us to some amazing destinations all around the world, and they were the best of the best golf courses. But so often we'd have comments from people saying, well, what about trying to get on some, not cheaper golf courses, but golf courses that are easier to access? And I think that with travel being a little limited, and certainly we don't know how that's going to look moving forward, but I just think having access to, I mean, people can drive to Cornwall. I know it's difficult at the moment with staying places and things like that, but you know, it's probably not a very heard of golf course, but I think showing those places off are really good.
I'll be honest with you, I'd never heard of it. If you said to me, name a Cornish course, you know, you'd like you said, you'd name the big ones, Trevose, St Mellion,
St Enodoc,
St Enodoc.
And one thing that I didn't realise, and I wish I had known this before we got there, but you know, do you remember the third hole, the par 3?
Yeah, I did see the comment.
Well, that was actually it's the remains of a World War II bomb. So when a German plane went back after he dropped off a load of his bombs right at the end as they were going off back to Germany, and the actual third green is actually a bomb crater. And I wish I'd known that on the vlog, because we could have mentioned it.
That does make sense, because it was
quirky. Proper like quirky, wasn't it?
I don't think you'd design a green like that, would you? Dug into the side of a
It was quite
hill.
impressive. When Lester and I grew up playing golf, you know, it wasn't quite that easy to access lots of golf courses. So when we were growing up as kids, we would go and play local pitch and putts, and there's one course in particular that stands out to us down the road on the way to Brixham, where we lived or grew up around the course from Chester, is a short course called Cayman Golf. And we're going to go and play Cayman. It's an 18-hole short course, which is Cayman golf balls, and we learned a lot of our sort of I suppose our tricks around there.
Won't give too much away, but it was Jack Nicklaus designed, and the concept was that it was played on the Cayman Islands, where you had very restricted space. You couldn't get an 18-hole golf course, even a 9-hole golf course in certain areas in the little bits of land which were available. So they made a restricted ball, and probably the golf course length is a couple of thousand yards, if that. But
it's beautiful, isn't it?
And
it's properly shaped like it. So anyway, we'll get over and play those. But there you go. So that was Whittam Bay this week. It was a good fun. Always nice to get a little bit of a revenge over Lee. He buckled at the end, didn't he?
Yeah.
I just ground him down.
I think we got to him, didn't we? He didn't help himself though, because he
turning up with that shirt.
Well, not just that, but he was telling us how he was going to beat you, and like, because obviously people don't see all that. All the few days before, he was giving us loads and I've been shooting this round there. You got no chance, and he showed us parts of Cornwall that I didn't know existed. No.
You know, 3 fairways wide and all that. So it was good fun.
He could have got sent a postcard a couple of times, couldn't he?
So we've got coming up this week on the channel as well. We've got the me playing through Lee's eyes. So pro playing through the eyes of an amateur. So the reverse of what we did last week or the week before, which was Lee playing through my eyes. So it's you know, let's not get confused with this. It's literally it's an experimental kind of thing. It's just to see how Lee performs through. I want to see what he's visualising when he's out on the golf course. So anyway, tune in for that. It will be coming up Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday this week from
Bobby the week after.
And then we've got the start of the Dartmoor golf breaks at Bovey Castle, which will be fantastic. That's the week after, so that will be.
That's a good vlog.
That is good fun. And then obviously this week we've just filmed down at Tavistock Golf Club, so we've got quite a bit coming up. And then hopefully we'll get the third part of the Dartmoor Golf Breaks, which is going to be at Yelverton, and hopefully we'll get out and play there in the next week or so. So someone also commented the other week and said that we were 6 minutes into the video last Sunday before we started talking about ball position, which was obviously the title of the thing. Now, the Sunday show, for those of you if you're new to the Sunday show is just a bit of a chit-chat with Lester and I, and answering your questions. So if you've got any more questions to fire them in, that's what this show is all about. It's just a bit of fun on a Sunday morning.
People either love it or they'll hate it.
Exactly.
It was more as well to find out if we felt that other people that do videos on YouTube, you didn't really know a lot about them, their character, their personality, a little bit of personal information, and we tried to make this more personal, that you get to know us and invest in us as characters, I guess.
Correct. Yeah. So that's really what this Sunday show is all about.
If you pick something up and learn something, it's a bonus.
Yeah, it is a bonus.
That's the whole channel.
It is a bonus for this one.
So I've got a question for you.
Right.
Why are you using SM7 wedges? Like, you are a Titleist man.
I am.
A FootJoy wearer.
Yeah.
A Titleist club player.
Yeah.
But you're still using SM7s. Like, even I'm more up to date than you on equipment at the moment.
So.
Why?
So. I am purely using SM7. I did a video on the wedge fit that I did the other day, which has come out and people have been able to see that. So
the link's there.
Yeah, I'll pop it down in the description in this one. But the reason I was using SM7 was purely because I didn't find the time before lockdown to sort out my SM8 fitting and bits and pieces like that. We just got a bit busy and I wasn't able to get it done. And obviously with lockdown and Titleist closing down to a degree, they were a lot of the guys went on to furlough, so it was a little bit difficult. I didn't see it as a high priority to change my wedges straight away because they were busy, I was busy, and that was that. However, they have arrived.
Whoa.
We have now moved into SM8. I know this will make you
that makes me happy.
A lot happier that I am now using current wedges.
There is some funky stamping on there as well.
There is a lot of funky stamping. So this one here is my 58 degree wedge and it's got DH just stamped all over it, Dan Hendriksen. And then I've got 54 degree, which has got Hendriksen just stamped around the toe of the club there. So it's a tricky one. When they put you under a bit of pressure, don't they? So they say, what do you want stamped on there, Dan? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. What do I have?
There's also a limited number of letters, as I found out when I got my SM7s done a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And then they're like, no, there's too many letters. And then you're like,
Yeah. So, but I'm looking forward to using these. So I just had Hendriksen put on one and then DH put on the other. No real reason other than it just looked quite funky. Customised for me. And like I said in my video before, it's 54 degrees and 12 degrees of bounce in the D grind, which is a new one for me because I've never used this grind, so this will be fun to play with. And then I've gone 58 this year. Same in the 10 bounce with S grind, and but it's 58 as opposed to 60.
That's interesting as well because you're 56. You play a lot of little chips and delicate stuff, and you're very good with that. My 56. It was hard to sort of think about moving away from that because it's built my short game up so much over these last couple of years. I was a pretty poor chipper of the ball for a long time, struggled. I just struggled with the yippies a little bit on that, so that's helped massively. Right, so I want to go outside quickly. Yeah. And I had a lesson the other day with a chap, and I want to talk about a trigger, not trigger on TV, trigger, same broom for 20 years, just change the head and the handle around a little bit. Not that trigger we know, but about a golf trigger and how a trigger can help you get your golf swing working. So I want to take us down to now the driving range outside, and I want to just talk about my trigger, your trigger, and how it might be able to help and people to be aware of their own triggers. Let's get down there. So like I said, I had this lesson the other day where we were talking about the chap that I was giving the lesson to. We're talking about his trigger and how it was possibly even affecting his actual performance when the ball left the club face. So as he took the club away, he would forward press, but he would also re-grip the club, okay?
and it was the regrip with the right hand that was causing a bit of trouble for him.
Was he aware that he was re-gripping, or was he under the impression he still had the same original grip when he first picked the club up?
So no, he wasn't. He was completely unaware, and I think this is quite a normal, natural thing, that we all have a subtle trigger, something that gets us going in the golf swing. For me, I have a small twitch with the left foot, and I noticed that you do this as well, Lester.
Yeah, I mean yours is very noticeable. I didn't even know. Did you actually know you do that until people pointed it out? Because I had no idea that that's what my trigger was.
Well, not really. No, I didn't notice that I did it, but I know that I worked on for a long time. I was trying to get my hips to clear out of the way a lot more on the way through, because I was quite sort of almost a bit too static with my hips, and then my hands would just take over and I'd hit big hooks, you know. So what I was working on for a long time was trying to clear my left side. So by pushing my left foot out, it enabled my left hip to be able to pull around a bit easier.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what has created the trigger. So at the initial setup, I would then move my left foot more into this movement here.
That movement is instantly helping you to move your hip into that position,
Correct.
into almost through the ball position.
Absolutely. So
which is perfect for older golfers.
Absolutely, it allows them to be able to turn better, because if I stand here in this position here and turn my feet in, I find it a real struggle to turn my hips properly. If I turn them out, I can really open my hips up, which I know a lot of certainly older chaps would struggle to really clear their hips out of the way. So this is a good little tip to be able to help them. But you do the same thing.
I do.
You have a subtle little twitch with your left foot, when I was doing a little slow-mo of you.
Yeah, I mean mine's not quite as noticeable as your actual shift.
Yeah.
But mine is literally, as I'm going to hit, I can feel myself literally, it's probably...
Yours is tiny.
Maybe an inch movement?
Yeah, yours is tiny, but again, I've never noticed you do that until the other day when I was thinking about this, and I did a slow-mo of you and I saw it then.
Yeah, I mean, I never realised, as I said, I never realised I did it.
Yeah.
It's just something I do subconsciously.
Yeah.
But it's obviously as a trigger, so I just, you know, it's interesting to see how many people put a trigger in there to start their swing, or whether, again, like me, got no idea you do it until you actually see yourself on camera.
So I want you to now hit this shot, but I want you to think about the trigger. Right. So I want you to actually physically feel your left foot do its thing.
Okay.
All right. So if you just hit this one, and then we'll talk about what that sort of sensation of that then. So watch his left foot, front foot, lead foot. How does that feel now that you're thinking about it?
It felt strange because I almost tried not to do it.
Yes.
But then I almost found that difficult then to actually
take the club away.
Yeah, I struggled. But I mean, there's lots of different triggers. There's some that are noticeable, some that aren't.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier. Garcia, he used to have a real re-grip, so he was there doing this.
I'd fall asleep watching him.
And he was waggling the club all over the place, and he just looked uncomfortable. But
couldn't quite couldn't quite pull the club away.
I mean, at times he would be stood over that ball, what seemed forever, but. Obviously,
what he did, I think, to combat that or compensate for that was he actually created a conscious trigger,
right,
to put himself to get going. So he had to do something to get him going, hitting the shot. I mean, he'd be over the shot for like a minute, wouldn't he?
But I mean, it
felt like a minute.
It's because it's such we're in a stationary or seemingly stationary position.
Yeah.
At address, then I feel like you have to have some sort of trigger or some sort of movement to take that club back. Because you don't want to be stood, you don't want to just be stood there and then pull the trigger, do you? You actually want to be, your muscles, your body wants to be a slight bit of movement to create that movement, if that makes sense.
Yeah, relaxation. Some noticeable guys like Jack Nicklaus would be one. I don't know if you remember Jack Nicklaus's, but as he took the club away, he would move his head. He'd have a trigger which would then push his head back as he then which then kind of got him going. This guy that I was coaching the other day, obviously as soon as he was having a big problem with hooking the golf ball, so he was getting his club face very close to impact, and it was going way low. I mean, he would hit it, he would have one about 14 degrees shut at impact, which then he would like literally hook it 30, 40 yards left with a 7-iron. And what he was doing is as soon as he took that club away, he would have a push forward and then a re-grip with his right hand, which would strengthen his right hand over. As soon as I made him more aware of it, and he kept his right hand in that position, he still had his forward press, which was his trigger, but made him sort of very aware of his right hand, which then as he stopped doing it, bang, he was then starting to arrow his golf shots. So really what I wanted to kind of talk about with this particular trigger is that it's okay to have a trigger. It's a good thing to have. It loosens up the muscles, it keeps you moving before you hit the shot. But just double check what you do, because I think sometimes that trigger, like in this situation with the chap that I was coaching, it was actually hurting him. So just be mindful of it. And obviously, if it's something that you might be able to work on with your coach, I definitely think it's worth having that conversation with them. So Greg Norman was the hovering of the club. He never wanted to let the club sit on the ground, certainly with his driver.
So I mean, from my own perspective, I would say that sometimes that trigger or that movement before they pull the club back into position, it could be something technical. You see quite a lot of the guys when they address the ball, they will do that to almost set themselves into the position halfway back or before they introduce a bit of wrist turn to make sure the club's
in the right spot.
The club face is in the right position.
It
could be anything, couldn't it? Great, like you said, Greg Norman used to, with his driver,
used to hover the club.
I mean,
hover it above the tee. I mean, you don't see that very often
Ricky
nowadays.
Fowler does the same, doesn't he? He has the club set and then he lifts it slightly.
And then he goes.
So I mean, there's lots of different. You'll probably now, we've mentioned it, if you watch the European Tour or the US Tour, which starts this week, you'll probably notice a few triggers or a few different movements directly before they swing the club, because there's some really quirky and interesting ones that I've only noticed since we brought this discussion up.
Absolutely right. So there you go, there's our little discussion on triggers. It's quite interesting actually when you start thinking about it and start sort of analysing it a little bit more. It's just a subtle little thing that I think we all have something in us that can maybe just get that golf swing going. I don't want to get too technical on it because there's a lot of psychological things when it comes to the trigger, isn't there? And I'd want to have a psychologist here to have a chat with me about that, and maybe that's something we can do.
I think it's important to say that we're just, with these little discussions, we're just scraping the surface. Obviously, if you dig a bit deeper, there's other factors and other pieces of this puzzle, but we're just scraping the surface. But you know, it's a good discussion.
And it's a busy week next week, isn't it?
Yeah, we have
shop is opening.
Shop is opening this Monday, the 15th, I think it is. So looking forward to getting a bit of normality back. Although we've been at the golf club doing voluntary work, etc., it'd be nice to get some not cash, but get some card payments through that till. That till needs to start ringing, doesn't it? Absolutely. We need to eat. We need to eat. And you're sending a few things around the world, aren't you? Yeah, I've sent a few club scrubbers in the last couple of weeks around the world. Yeah. Somebody's after some head covers. If anybody wants any logoed Torquay bits and bobs or anything, to be honest, we're more than welcome. If they're willing to pay the packaging, we're willing to sell it anywhere in the world. What? Where do they go for that though? Because I mean, you've got an email address. Yeah, it's easier if you email me, which is Lester LESTER_ Barnes BARNES at hotmail.com. There you go. So there it is. Any other questions? I think we're done, really. Are we done for our Sunday show? Yeah. Well, there you go. There's our Sunday show for this week. As always, people, thank you very much for watching. Stay safe, and we look forward to catching up with you again soon. See you next Sunday. See you next Sunday. See you next Sunday.